So a lot of people ask the questions, why do we even want to see those short-term interest rates go up? Well, the main reason is that lowering that short-term Fed funds rate is a major monetary policy tool of the Federal Reserve. Since we're at the zero bound right now, if something should happen, the economy should slide again, they're very limited on what they can do as far as monetary policy goes. And then again, higher interest rates, they're also a sign of a healthier economy. And the savers among us would, I'm sure, like to see higher interest rates. So right now the consensus seems to be that the Fed will be beginning raising short-term interest rates sometime next June. All right, so there was a table on this slide that showed the outlook for 2014 and 2015 for the U.S. economy. This year we've seen pretty good gains in the labor markets, which we expect to continue through next year. So all in all, the outlook is really positive, something that's been long overdue, especially for so many households and people among us that have been waiting for years to start hearing some good news and to actually see their situation start to improve. All right, so now we'll move on and talk about the state and local economies. All right, so what this table showed was economic comparisons between GDP for the U.S., which is still the largest economy in the world at $16.8 trillion. Next down was California. We're the 8th largest economy in the world, and we actually moved up. We were 9th place last year. California, contrary to a lot of what you hear, is actually doing quite well. The 5 counties of Southern California, 16th largest economy in the world. Right here we have a almost 950 billion GDP. And then Los Angeles County just by itself would be the 21st largest economy in the world. Our gross product in 2013 was $583 billion. Oh, and I should also note that we're predicting 2.2% GDP growth for the nation as a whole. For this year, we're expecting California's GDP, or just gross product, to have grown at 3.1%. So we're outpacing the nation as a whole, both in terms of our employment growth and our GDP. All right, so this shows California's unemployment rate in the red versus the U.S. unemployment rate. You can see that during the recession, the recovery period, there was quite a substantial gap between the two. But California's rate is coming down, and you can see that it is converging finally on the U.S. rate. And as I mentioned, we're adding jobs faster than the U.S. as a whole, which is one of the reasons why that unemployment rate is starting to converge on what we're seeing at the national level. And this shows job trends in California by metro area. So I'm doing a comparison of how some of the different metro areas in California are doing in terms of job growth compared to one another. Up at the top of this chart, since the recovery period began, was San Francisco, Santa Clara, the Silicon Valley area, have all posted gains of about 3%, much faster growth than we're seeing down here in Southern California. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that tech industries are so heavily concentrated up there. That was one of the very first sectors to come back after the recession, so we saw much faster job growth in Northern California. Now, Los Angeles in September year to year, we've posted a gain of 1.5% in job growth. Los Angeles County has pretty much been in the middle towards the bottom of this chart, but we should keep in mind that we have such a large population compared to these other places that even a more moderate job growth rate of 1.5% still means a lot more people are getting jobs and going back to work. All right, so this shows job trends by industry in California, and the thing you want to look at here is the number of bars that are facing towards the right. The fastest growing sectors right now in California are construction. Although even though we're seeing that grow at a rate of about 6%, we lost so many construction jobs in the state after the recession, we're still nowhere back to where we were. Administrative waste and support services also growing very fast, but the biggest component of that is temporary job agencies. So that's playing into what I was just talking about, the high number of part-time jobs that are still out there. So we're still seeing firms that are hesitating to commit to a full-time employee, still seeing a lot of temporary and part-time hiring. And then the information sector, that houses the state's entertainment industry. So the biggest component of that, and we're seeing as far as growth goes, is movie and video production. And then, of course, healthcare, educational, our leisure and hospitality sectors have all been doing very well. Finance and insurance, we're seeing job declines there. A lot of that has to do with the housing sector. Mortgage applications are down. We're getting out from under that foreclosure mess we had, so finance companies are laying off people that were dealing with that. And then non-durable goods manufacturing. That's things like food, apparel, pharmaceuticals. All right, so this was a table showing California's progress from 2011 through 2015. It should be showing you steady progress across a number of different sectors. So jobs are increasing in California, the unemployment rate is coming down, personal income is rising at a faster rate, consumer spending is getting better, expected to increase again next year, and then new home construction is finally starting to take off. New home construction, very important driver of economic growth, and we think it's going to be an even bigger component of that next year, because when a new home is built, generates all kinds of activity. Not only do construction workers go back to work and the developers make money, but you've got electricians, plumbers, you hire landscape architects, you hire gardeners, people pay the real estate agents, they pay money to finance the purchase. You move in, you buy furniture, appliances, electronics, you decorate. So there's a wide range of effects that go into play when you start to see more home building. And you get a lot of this effect also even when the sale of an existing home goes through. All right, so this shows local unemployment rates for Los Angeles, Orange, Inland Empire, Ventura, and San Diego counties. And the reason why these lines look very squiggly up and down is because these are not seasonally adjusted. So you see a lot of up and down in these numbers. But the story here is that they climbed during the recession. You can see that they're all starting to drop again. In most cases, probably only with the exception of Orange County, which is a 5.1%. You know, they're still too high, but the story is that they're coming down. All right, so this shows job trends for Los Angeles, similar to what we saw for California. In September, we added 73,800 jobs in the county over the year. Again, construction doing very well. It's actually growing faster here in LA than it is in California as a whole, 8.6%. Mining and logging, which would actually be our petroleum extraction and processing industry. Again, administrative support and waste services, those are those temporary jobs. Then management of companies and enterprises, not a large number of jobs, but these are actually corporate headquarters. So we're seeing those start to add jobs again. And then professional, scientific, and technical services, accountants, attorneys, consultants, people doing scientific research. These are high-paying jobs for the most part, so that's really an area we want to see a lot of growth in. And then moving on down the line, information, which is our movie industry, healthcare, retail, leisure, and hospitality. We still are losing jobs, again, in finance and insurance. Wholesale trade, that flips back and forth from month to month. But where we're seeing continual decline still is in manufacturing, both durable and non-durable goods. All right, now I hesitated to even show this slide because it looks so strange. This is showing that same sort of industry sector job growth for the San Gabriel Valley from 2012 to 2013. And the reason it looks so weird, and this drives economists nuts, but the government reclassified some types of jobs. So if you look down at the bottom in other services, that used to house home health care workers, personal workers that would come into your home and help you with your health care. They got moved up into health services. So you see this big decline for other services, and what looks like a huge increase for education and health services. But it was really just a transfer of a little over 18,000 jobs from one group to the next. Really skewed this chart. But it does show you that here in the San Gabriel Valley, you're adding education and healthcare jobs, leisure and hospitality, all the way down the line. And in fact, the only sector that lost jobs over that year was other services, and that was primarily due to that reclassification. Here in the San Gabriel Valley, you're even adding manufacturing jobs. All right, so this shows a little bit clearer employment trends in the San Gabriel Valley. As of 2013, you were at 644,000 wage and salary jobs. Pre-recession high for that was 650,000 in 2008. So made tremendous progress, still has a ways to go, but the valley's doing pretty well as far as bringing back those jobs. Now, what this was meant to show was average annual wage by region in 2013 for LA County as a whole, and then for each of the sub-county sectors. Now, in Los Angeles last year, the annual wage was just under $54,000. You come down to the San Gabriel Valley, a little bit below the middle part of that chart with an average annual wage of $45,340. And that's pretty consistent. We've been doing this chart for quite a long time, and it goes up and down a little bit, but it's usually right about there. Now this shows San Gabriel Valley taxable retail sales. Again, same sort of pattern you see, climbing before the recession, dips during the recession, and is coming back out. Now taxable retail sales, they're growing. When we got numbers for this last year in 2013, very close to pre-recession levels. So I suspect that over this year, when we do our next San Gabriel Valley economic report, that we'll find that the valley has regained all of those taxable retail sales, which is an indication of the health of the consumer sector. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about some of the major industries here in Southern California. So of course we have international trade, entertainment, business services, private education, aerospace, fashion, hospitality. Some of the ones that are more important to the San Gabriel Valley would be trade, business services, education, of course, manufacturing, including aerospace, and then, of course, healthcare services. So this is looking at container throughput through the San Pedro Bay ports. And trade and distribution activity is an important economic driver of the San Gabriel Valley. And one of the ways we gauge the health of that sector are these container counts moving through the local ports. Now, container activity in 2010 to 2012 was fairly flat, but container counts finally started to rise again last year, and we're expecting to see even larger gains again this year. And that's a positive indicator for the valley's exporters and then, of course, the distribution and logistics industries. All right, so this shows Southern California's manufacturing employment. And I included this because manufacturing is such an important part of the valley's economy. Now, manufacturing employment in the U.S., we probably all know, has been declining since it peaked in 1979, with numbers tending to hold fairly steady while the economy is expanding, and then dropping sharply during a recession and then not recovering. What I had here was pointing out that while manufacturing employment as a whole has been on the decline, there are sectors within the manufacturing industries that are in fact adding jobs locally. So the sectors that we're seeing adding jobs include furniture manufacturing, machinery manufacturing, and then miscellaneous durable goods, which houses medical instruments manufacturing. Where we're losing jobs is in petrochemical, food, aerospace, electronics, and then apparel and textiles. Now, one of the other things I wanted to point out about manufacturing is that so often the conversation is limited to employment. Well, one of the reasons why we've seen a drop-off in employment in manufacturing is not just outsourcing overseas, but also technological improvements and rising worker productivity. So the fact is, if you look at the value of manufacturing output in California, you can see that it rose up until the recession, dipped down again, and since then it's been steadily climbing. Durable goods manufacturing in California actually produced a new peak in terms of the value of what we produce in 2012. Non-durable goods, that's textiles and apparel and food and things like that, that still hasn't recovered its 2008 peak. All right, so I was going to turn really quick to the housing market and just note that we're seeing some improvement, although there's still a lot of challenges out there. Prices have been on the rise for over 2 years now, but sales activity is down. Although last month we did finally see a year-over-year increase in sales for the first time in almost a year. But I think in the interest of time, and because you have Selma here from the California Association of Realtors, she's going to have a lot of good housing information, so we'll just move on. Although I did want to say a little bit about residential building in Los Angeles County. Overall, residential construction's been very slow to come back. In fact, we, along with just about everyone else, had to revise our forecast down again this year. and for next year, but we are starting to see a pickup in activity. And one of the things you'll note from this chart, the red sections are multifamily housing. So you can see in Los Angeles County, after the recession, how much more of our housing is now being devoted to multifamily as opposed to single family. And this is housing permits for the San Gabriel Valley. And again, same sort of trends, much heavier concentration to multifamily in 2014. And we are expecting to see an over 20% increase in the value of residential permits this year over last year. Oh, we have charts, yay. So we'll move into the forecast now to finish things up. And because the LADC's core mission is economic development, which is inherently a long-term activity, we decided it made sense to start extending our forecast out over 5 years. And we're hoping that this is going to be helpful to businesses or government agencies that also have to look out over these longer time horizons when they're developing their strategic plans or making capital investments. So the last 5 years have been marked by recession and recovery. The second half of this decade we think is going to be marked by faster growth, driven in part by a long overdue acceleration in construction and housing. The unemployment rate will hit its long-run natural rate of the mid-5% range by next year, and we're expecting it to drop even lower than that by the end of the decade. And we're still expecting inflation to remain subdued. Looking at California's 5-year forecast. Now, California matched or exceeded the nation in terms of economic growth during much of the period 2010 to 14, which has been the recovery. That's enabled to add jobs at a faster rate and recover from a much deeper recession than most of the nation experienced. Now, with gains across much of the state, California will outpace the nation's growth over the forecast period. That's over the next 5 years, both in terms of real gross product and the creation of non-farm jobs. This will drive the unemployment rate down to long-run normal levels for California, which is about 6.5%. Personal income, which has improved during the past 5 years, will also start to grow more quickly over the forecast period. Looking at new home construction to drive growth. And we've seen weaker than expected new home construction. That's one of the reasons why GDP growth in the last 2 years has been so disappointing. Home building hit its lowest levels in 50 years in the years just following the recession. Demographics, better economic fundamentals should trigger new household formation and a long overdue increase in housing demand over the next few years. Now, this will materialize in the form of higher home prices, and we're expecting home building to return to or surpass long-run average levels, resulting in a significant multiplier effect rippling throughout the economy, triggering faster growth. We're also going to see job gains continue. Los Angeles County should finally recover all of its recession-induced job losses sometime next year, with other Southern California counties passing that threshold in 2015 or the year following. Job gains are projected to continue through 2019, with the region adding nearly 600,000 jobs. Now, despite its slower growth rate, Los Angeles County's contribution will be the largest, with 257,000 jobs, followed by the faster-growing Inland Empire, 175,000, Orange County with 142, and then 142,000, and then much smaller Ventura County with about 26,000 jobs. Now, the subject of demographics is often left out of discussions about the economy. Population trends tend to change slowly, but they can have a profound effect on the economy. Now, one such development is the flood of retirements by the baby boomers over the next several years. And the oldest baby boomers hit 65 in 2011, and the youngest will hit that threshold 18 years later, which is why we're looking at changes in population out through 2024. Now, over this period, the under 18 age group will increase by 3.7 million. Working age population, which is 18 to 64, will add 4 million to its ranks. So we're talking about population growth among younger people of 3.7 plus 4 million. But the over 65 age group, they're going to swell by 17.4 million. So that has implications for various public policy concerns. Now, as the working age share of the population declines relative to the number of retirees, that puts pressure on entitlement programs, but it also creates new market opportunities. Demographics, they affect housing demand, urban versus suburban building, demand for student housing versus housing for seniors. It also changes demand for health care, the types of entertainment we see, travel products, other kinds of consumer products. Pretty much anything you can think of is going to be influenced by these changing demographics. And that concludes my remarks. So are we doing questions or?
Well, thank you so much. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our panelists for today's discussion. We will have a question and answer period following their presentation. I'm very pleased to have each of them here this afternoon to enlighten us about their company, their industry, its place in the region and Pasadena, and what the future may hold. Each of our panelists are going to provide some insight into their industry, the opportunities and challenges they face, and how they may fit into our local economy. Let me introduce each panelist. To my right is Jerry McCall. As Senior Vice President of Operation, Jerry directs the health plan and hospital operations for Kaiser Permanente, Southern California region. In addition to his medical center responsibility, he partners with National Facility Services in overseeing major capital construction projects and oversees hospital strategy and implementation of regional support services. It's a big job. Prior to Kaiser Permanente, he worked at Georgetown University Medical Center in Washington, D.C. He is a graduate of Manhattan College in New York City, earning a master's degree in health service administration from Georgetown University. Mr. McCall is past chairman of the Board of Hospital Association of Southern California and continues to serve on the executive committee and board of directors. He currently serves as a member of the Healthcare Advisory Board for the Graduate School of Management at the University of California, Irvine. Next panel member is Selma Hip. And Selma is a senior economist for the California Association of Realtors, a statewide trade organization with more than 165,000 members, dedicated to the advancement of professionalism within real estate. Ms. Hip directs the activities of the Association Research and Economic Group. She oversees the research of housing markets and economic trends, member and consumer surveys, and the impact of real estate-related regulatory and legislative policy. She regularly monitors and writes columns for the latest academic research in housing and urban economics, foreclosures, international housing markets, and demographic trends. Before joining the California Association of Realtors in 2012, she was an economist and manager of public policy and homeownership at the National Association of Realtors. She also worked as a research associate for the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the National Center for Smart Growth Research and Education. And she was an instructor at George Washington University. She earned her master's from State University of New York at Buffalo and a PhD from the University of Maryland. Mike Ross is CEO of the Pasadena Center Operating Company since 2006. Mike oversees the operation of the Pasadena Convention Center, the 3,000-seat Pasadena Civic Auditorium, Pasadena Ice Skating Center, and the Pasadena Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is an official marketing agency or organization for the city. Throughout Mike's distinguished 27-year career, he has headed up San Jose's convention and cultural facilities, the Sacramento Convention Center Complex, the Harborside Convention Complex in Florida, and the Gateway Center, Collinsville Convention and Visitors Bureau in Illinois. Ross holds a master's degree in Recreation and Park Administration from Central Michigan University, as well as a bachelor's degree in Recreation Administration from Ferris State University in Michigan. Well, let's all begin with welcoming the panel, and Mr. McCall, you're first.
Thank you, Ben. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. Kaiser Permanente, who you all know fairly well, we aspire to be the national model of excellence for fully integrated healthcare in the United States. We sometimes think we are the answer to how to organize and deliver care in America. We were founded in 1945 by the industrialist Henry Kaiser, who after World War II decided to take his healthcare program and open it to the public. For more than the last 70 years, it's been a journey of continuous improvement for us. Got it. Kaiser Permanente is a nonprofit organization, community benefit corporation in Southern California. Just to give a sense of who we are, we take care of almost 4 million people, about 20% of the share of the market. We have 14 hospitals in Southern Cal, and we're building our 15th as I stand here in San Diego, our second hospital there. We have over 250 medical office facilities in Southern Cal that are all conveniently located. We have a workforce of 60,000 employees, 8,000 full-time physicians, about 10,000 when you count part-time. This year in 2014, our revenues will exceed $21 billion here in Southern California. We're the largest non-governmental employer in LA County. We're projecting to grow approximately 150,000 members this year in Southern California. And we also forecast that we will grow about the same next year, 150,000 members. Our mission, which really was codified in 1945 in our Articles of Incorporation, always fascinates me because it's an incredibly simple statement, but it's one that we try and live every day. And it's Kaiser Permanente exists to provide high quality, affordable, which is becoming quite a challenge, health care, and to improve the health of our members and the communities that we serve. And we try and execute on that principle every day. And the complexity is in the execution. But it's a beautiful statement and a great aspiration. And I think it motivates all of us who are in KP to take care of other people. Our focus is very laser-like on high-quality care. We believe that great care is less expensive. We want to be convenient and timely, convenient to our members. Our emphasis, as you probably well know, is on wellness and on prevention and health promotion, teaching people how to lead healthy lifestyles, promoting regular health screening such as breast cancer screening, cervical cancer screening, diabetes screening, hypertension, just some examples of our constant attention to people's health status, educating patients on how to take care of themselves and live great lifestyles is very important to us. When needed, we also do sick care very well. We're very good at hospital care, surgical care, cancer care, and the fun stuff, maternal and new baby care. We're having a record baby boom right now, so I think that coincides with those employment numbers that you're talking about. We had 5 of our hospitals in LA County set records for births last month, so something's happening. We manage the entire continuum of care. We take care of everything from hospital care to end-of-life care. Our aspiration is that our patients will live well, and you know the tagline, that they will thrive. You've probably heard that a few times. We've been recognized quite a bit for our quality, and we're incredibly proud of that. It's been a journey. I've been with Kaiser Permanente for 34 years, coming out here to Los Angeles from Washington, D.C. and Georgetown Medical Center. And when I left Georgetown, they were saying to me, "Why are you going out there?" And Kaiser Permanente has come a long way. I think we are definitely an industry leader. Recently, we were given a 5-star rating by Medicare for our senior program, the only 5-star plan in California. And we were rated the top Medicare plan in the United States. The National Committee on Quality Assurance rated us over the last 5 years a 4-star, which is their highest rating. You may have seen in the LA Times last week a lead story, the Office of Patient Advocate for the 7th year in a row voted Kaiser Permanente the best HMO in California. Something I'm very proud of as an ex-hospital CEO. I live and walk and think about safety all the time, patient safety. And we received the very prestigious Leapfrog Awards, which are a national healthcare award. All of our 14 hospitals in Southern California were rated in the top 1% of patient safety by Leapfrog. And last year, 8 of our 14 hospitals were rated top hospitals in America. And that's less than 1% of the hospitals in the United States. So we're very proud of that, and we work on patient safety every day. It's something you have to keep your eye on that ball constantly. We're also very focused on service, providing a great care experience. As I tell people, providing great clinical care doesn't get you there. It has to be a care experience that the member, the patient, the family greatly appreciate. It's not good enough just to provide good care. We talk a lot about the 3 C's in our company: to be convenient, and more importantly, to be caring and compassionate. Everyone who works in our company, we want them to be caring and compassionate because we're in the business of taking care of people, sometimes in their most vulnerable periods of life. We want to be the most trusted and the most reliable healthcare provider in California and in the country. And we work on highly reliable systems every day. We always focus on doing no harm to a patient. That's something that we all have taken that oath. I want to just spend a few minutes on the Affordable Care Act. And I know that it's a very complex piece of legislation that's been unfolding over several years here. And how do I see it unfolding? And just to peel that onion for a minute. Here in California, the California Health Exchanges started in January, covered California. And the goal here is to expand access to care for all Californians. I think Covered California has been very successful in year 1. They have now 1.2 million Californians enrolled, and they feel that there's a possibility in the next couple of years of moving that up to about 3 million Californians enrolled. The ACA is also provided for the expansion of Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal is not the old Medi-Cal we knew, which was for women and infants and the blind and aged and disabled. With the expansion of the benefit option, more people are being enrolled with that type of coverage. In California, there was 7 million people on Medi-Cal a year ago. Today, there are 9.5 million people. And the forecast is that in another 2 years, 11 million Californians will have coverage through the state Medi-Cal program. Some of the other benefits I see of the ACA, it's increasing competition to try and promote all of us to be more cost-effective, more portability of benefits, which is a great thing for people who are in and out of unemployment. They can have a continuous insurance coverage through Covered California or Kaiser or one of the other programs. So the continuity of care there and the continuity of benefit is very impressive. It's increased access to care, which is something that we all want to see. We don't want to be providing care to people in our emergency rooms. Getting care is really about having a primary care physician who gets you on a preventive maintenance cycle and takes care of you and interrupts those illnesses before they have a chance to fully develop. So it's a great thing. We focus on being convenient and easy, and I think our access and our service scores have tremendously improved over the last 10 years. We benchmark all of our performance to industry, our service scores in our hospitals. I'm very proud to say that 60% of our hospitals are in the national 90th percentile in customer service. 10 years ago, we were in the 25th percentile. So we have really gotten religion around a great